Hi guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm cooking vegetable stew and cornbread muffins. Stay tuned to see how I do it. So I've got my onion and I'm going to cut this up and saute it in some olive oil. So we're going to go ahead and turn on the heat and get that going. And I'm going to take my olive oil and go very liberally at the bottom of the pot. And we're going to get that hot. And while I'm waiting on that to get hot, I'm going to go ahead and chop my onion. Chopping off the head of the onion makes it a little easier to peel. That skin is so thin and it's hard to catch with your fingers sometimes. I'm just going to get that skin off. And we're going to go. And there we have our chopped onion. As soon as the oil gets hot, we're going to go in to the oil with the chopped onion. You can never have too much caramelized onion in my opinion. It's just that good and it adds so much flavor. I'm gonna let that get caramelized and then I'll add my garlic. So the onions are beginning to brown and caramelize. I'm going to let them go a little bit longer and then I'm going to add my garlic. And if you have any spuds on your potatoes, it's not really that big of a deal. Just cut them off. People like to peel their potatoes before they cook with them and eat them. I like potato skins and I keep the skins in. Skins on a lot of vegetables have a lot of the benefits, and so I just never see the point in cutting off the skin. I eat the skin on everything. Cucumbers, potatoes, you name it. I mean, of course you can't eat the skin on every vegetable out there because some of it is inedible. So on the potatoes, I'm going to just give them a rough chop so you get nice chunky pieces of potato. The starches in the potato will help to thicken the stew. So we're just chopping. The difference between a soup and a stew is mainly thickness. And now I'm going to chop up some celery. And this is going to go in with the onion and garlic and saute. And celery adds a lot of flavor to a soup or a stew or to any dish really. And a lot of people throw away the tops, but I use them because the celery tops have so much flavor. It's like twice the amount of flavor as the stalk of the celery. So I'm just gonna throw all of it in. I'm also gonna use some frozen vegetable mix. Normally I'll go in with whatever vegetable I have on hand, whether that's canned vegetables, frozen vegetables, or fresh vegetables. Most of the time I have fresh vegetables. A lot of times I'll have canned vegetables and I'll use those, but now I only have the frozen vegetables and a little bit of fresh vegetables. So I'm gonna go in with a bag of the frozen vegetables. It has lima beans, corn, green beans, and carrots. So I'm gonna throw this in the mix as well. And even though carrots are in this mix, I'm still gonna go ahead and add some fresh carrots because I have a lot of these on hand and I need to use them. So I'm gonna add those to the soup as well. I'm gonna go ahead and throw in my celery into the pot. Stir that around. And let that saute down with the onions and the garlic. While I wait on that, I'm gonna go ahead and chop up my carrot. And like I said, this stew is gonna be thick. And so it's gonna have nice, good textures in there and a lot of flavor. I'm just gonna go ahead and cut up the carrots. Cut them round. A lot of times I do not like to cut them round because they'll just roll around on my cutting board. So I'll cut straight down the center of the carrot and then I'll slice, and so they'll come out more like with a flat bottom so they don't roll around. And that's the case with any vegetable that's in the shape of a cylinder or a circle. But I'm gonna go ahead and just cut them round this time. And I could add more carrot, but because I have so much potato and I'm also adding the frozen mixed vegetable and cabbage, I'm going to go ahead and just use this amount of carrots. Plus, there's carrots in the vegetable mix, so that'll be enough. I'm going to go ahead and throw in my carrots right into the pot. Stir that around. And I'll continue to make sure that the pot is well oiled, because as you add vegetables, the oil will cook in. So I just want to make sure I have a nice film at the bottom of the pot to saute these vegetables. Next, I'm going to go in with my frozen vegetable mix. And don't feel any type of way about not using fresh vegetables. Canned and frozen vegetables, when they are cooked properly, you won't be able to even taste the difference. The biggest difference might be texture, but it's gonna be just as good. Trust me, I try it all three ways very often, and it always comes out great. I just got a whole head of cabbage here, but I'm only gonna use about half of it because this will cook into a lot. Even though it cooks down, it will cook into a lot of cabbage. And with cabbage, if you have an issue, you can just take off the outer layer of the cabbage. Then I'll go ahead and cut in to the center of the cabbage and just cut it in half. And I'm gonna go ahead and use the bigger half of the cabbage. I'm gonna cut off the end and slice. Check on our vegetable mixture here cooking down. That looks pretty. Nicely coated with the oil. And now I'm gonna add my potatoes. Potatoes are in. I'm just gonna mix those around with the other vegetables. Make sure they get mixed pretty well. And now I'm going to add my liquids. You can add a store-bought vegetable stock or chicken stock. I could also make chicken stock with the bones of a chicken, or I can make a vegetable stock with parts of the vegetables that I'm going to throw away. But I'm going to go ahead and just use bouillon cubes. And growing up, I always used chicken bouillon cubes. Now I tend to more use the vegetable cubes, but I do not have any vegetable cubes on hand. I had chicken on hand, and so I'm going to go ahead and just use the chicken bouillon cubes. And the key to a bouillon cube is that it's a cup of water for every bouillon cube. I'm going to take a measuring cup, 6 cups of water, 6 bouillon cubes. You can boil the bouillon cubes in a pot of water, which is what I grew up doing. But I've also found out that in a pinch, when you need to get it done quickly, you can just put the bouillon cubes in a measuring cup with some water, heat it up, and then the bouillon cubes will melt into the water, and you can just pour that right into the pot. And so that's what I'm going to do now. A bouillon cube is just different seasonings, dehydrated vegetables, and this one's got chicken flavor. 6 cups of water. Melt these down and get them stirred in well, and then I'm going to pour it into the pot. With the stew, I'm going to make some cornbread, and you can make homemade cornbread, which I grew up doing. But what I've learned that in a pinch, when you're in a hurry, you may not have time to make cornbread from scratch. And so I always use the Jiffy corn muffin mix when I've only got a little time. And me and my family, we don't eat pork. And they actually put pork in the original Jiffy mix, and so I'm really glad that they make the vegetarian kind, and so we're going to use that to make our cornbread. And instead of using eggs, we're going to use applesauce. Sometimes I'll use banana to substitute for the eggs, but applesauce works well as well. So we're going to add that in, and we're going to use our Silk omega-3 almond and cashew with flax milk. I'm going to go right into my mixing bowl with the Jiffy mix. And then this mixture calls for 1/3 a cup of milk, and so I'm going to go in with 1/3 of a cup of milk. And again, I do not really measure unless I have to. When you're not measuring, the key is to add a little at a time, because you can always add more, but you can't take it away. And really with cornbread, it's just the consistency that you're looking for. And so you don't want it too runny and you don't want it too thick. You want it just right. And so I'm just gonna stir until I get the consistency that I want. And right now I can't find my whisk. I have people over all the time because we have a lot of get-togethers and different people cook in my kitchen along with me, and sometimes my things disappear, but it's not that big of a deal. I'm just going to use a fork and go in and get this mixed very well. And as you can see, we're beginning to get that consistency that we want for our cornbread. And I'm actually going to make muffins. I'm going to take my muffin tin and line it. Okay, so I'm just gonna check on my vegetables. They're nice and coated with the oil, getting mixed in really good. I'm gonna go in with my special blend of seasonings. These are just Italian blend of seasoning. It's all gonna marry into one big pot of love. Chicken bouillons that have melted down into the water, and any pieces that haven't, I just press them softly against the side and they disintegrate right away because the water is really hot. And then once I make sure that they're all disintegrated into the water, I'm going to give that a stir and just pour it all in. Here's what we have so far. And you can most certainly leave this just like this, but I tend to like my stews and even my soups with a tomato flavor. So I'm gonna go in with some tomato paste. You can use tomato sauce, you can use diced tomatoes. I love to use roasted tomatoes. So I'm just gonna go in with a little tomato paste. And again, I don't measure, I just go in with as much as I think that it needs to get that flavor. It's gonna give that a stir. It's gonna turn it a beautiful red color. We're gonna get that tomato flavor that I love. And once I get the liquid added, I'll do a little taste to see if my seasoning's where I want it. I try not to go crazy with the salt because the bouillon cubes have salt in them. My special seasoning has salt. And so I don't want to overdo it with the salt. But one thing that I love to add into my stews and soups is a little bit of Louisiana hot sauce. So I'm just going to go in with a little bit of Louisiana hot sauce. That's going to add that peppery, spicy flavor that I like. Turn up my heat. And I'm going to cover my pot and let those potatoes tenderize, and then I'll go in with the cabbage. I'm also gonna go in with a can of diced fire roasted tomatoes. These things add so much flavor to a soup or a stew. So much flavor. Oh, look at that. Look at that. It's gonna add flavor, it's gonna add color. And so I'm just gonna give that a stir. Oh, look at that beautiful red color that we're getting. Yeah, I'm gonna let that all cook down. The potatoes have tenderized just a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and stick in my cabbage. That way it can get cooked down very nicely. And I'm just gonna put it right on top. I'm gonna add a little of my special seasoning. And I'm not gonna worry about mixing it right now. I'm just gonna go ahead and put the lid right on. Steam will cook these down, and then once they're able to mix in really well, I'm gonna give it a good stir, season it just a little bit more, and then we'll be ready to go. So while we're waiting on the potatoes to tenderize, I'm gonna go ahead and prepare my cornbread muffins. I've got my muffin pan right here, and I'm just going to line it with the little muffin holders. You don't have to use these. You can always just go in with a little bit of Pam spray directly into the muffin tins, and that will help you get the cornbread out. You can also use olive oil if you don't have any Pam or any of these muffin liners. And so I'm just gonna go right into the muffin pan with the mixture. I'm gonna preheat my oven to 400 degrees. Start, wait for that to heat, and then I'm gonna place my muffins right in the oven. So the oven's ready now, so I'm gonna go right in with my cornbread muffins. And in 20 to 25 minutes, I'll check them, they'll be ready to go. I'll also top them with some honey and put a little butter inside. So now I'm gonna stir in my cabbage just to get it down into the mixture. And I'm gonna turn up the heat and let those potatoes really tenderize and begin to break down and thicken. I'm gonna go ahead and cover this so it can continue to cook down. Do a stir. And with a little seasoning. That around. Give it a taste. Some good flavor, but I want to go in with a little bit more seasoning and a little bit more hot sauce. I'm gonna cover that and check on my cornbread. I'm gonna go in with a toothpick on my cornbread, make sure it's cooked through. It came out dry, so we are good. Looking real good. Cabbage is cooking down. Just gonna let it go a little while longer and we'll be ready to plate. Guys, I think this is ready. I'm gonna go ahead and plate up. Potatoes are tender, the cabbage is tender. Let's go ahead and do it. whatever you want to call it, soup or stew. Whatever floats your boat. I've got some butter at room temperature so that it melts on the muffins just perfectly. And as you let it cool and stand, it's going to thicken up, which is going to be really nice. I'm going to go ahead and eat mine now. Louisiana hot sauce. For that kick. Yep. And there you have it. Vegetable soup or stew with cornbread muffins. So that's it, guys. If you have any questions or if you have any suggestions, please leave it in the comments. Also, don't forget to subscribe so you can catch the next video. You can also click the bell to be notified every time that I upload. I'll see you next time. Bye.